Alright, y'all. So here is the basic introduction on content for the class as far as how to navigate the course site, as well as what the argument flows and the weekly or the reading questions rather are. So here's the course homepage. You can find the content, i.e. like what's coming up in the class, by the content tab up here in the top. Content there, you'll see week 1, which is what we're currently in. The personal philosophy essay, which is due on the 15th. Note that I've extended the due date or changed the due date for everything for the first week until after the holiday Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Not only because we had the snow day, but also because things have been kind of crazy with the shell being loaded wrong and the D12 site being crazy. So don't worry about that. You have until January 15th at midnight to turn all the stuff from the first week in, so don't stress too much about it. You have extra time for that. That said, following the first week, or following this first kind of mulligan week, everything will be due for the whole week, Friday night by midnight. So midnight Saturday morning, or 11:59 Friday night will be the cutoff date for everything per the week. So what, other than the writing, the essay assignments, what do we have to do every week? Well, the first thing we're going to have to do is notice it's broken down by every week. We have the argument flow. So the weekly argument flowing is a way to keep track of arguments in a speech or in a debate round or in a it's a method of note-taking, really, and it's a method of note-taking which helps you to summarize and extract the finer points or the most important details of an argument, as well as the validity of the argument, the source, its analytical warrant, what the argument's credence is, and how much weight you should give it, as a matter of note-taking ability. So for each argument flow, there's a new topic and a new kind of speech to watch, or a new kind of political clip to look at every week. And your goal is to get as much of that as you can down into an argument flow, which is a series of notes, an outline, if you will. I'll go into exact details of how to do that in a second here, to best encapsulate the main points of the argument, to distill the crap out of it and get it to the main points of the speaker, or whoever is speaking in the argument flow, or argument we're doing a flow of. That said, the argument flows will get progressively more difficult, i.e. we'll have more than one speaker come into the equation, or we'll also have multiple points by one speaker, or multiple speeches by one speaker, and so the flowing will get more intense and more difficult as we go on. But for the main point right now, at least for this first argument flow, it's merely taking the notes, summarizing the main points and the main arguments that Chuck Schumer has in his speech to the Senate about healthcare and the Republican healthcare bill, is part of the argument flow 1. I'll go into the exact argument flowing with a document that shows you what a flow is in a second here, but let's talk about overview a bit more first. Now, the personal philosophy essay. So this essay is due on the 15th, as I said before, and what it's about, it's what it says up in the description above there. What is the good? What is the good in your life? What factors do you take in consideration when you make a decision in your own life or interact with someone who doesn't share your moral, intellectual, spiritual, cultural beliefs and background? Do you believe in absolute, unshakable principles that under no circumstances should be altered or violated? Do you believe the context and effect of your actions have a calculus in the morality of the action? So a 2-page plus essay, which means type text on 2 full pages, double spaced, and something on the 3rd page. It can be a line, 2 lines, a paragraph, another page, whatever. There's no upward limit to the page count, but it has to be at least 2 full pages of text, MLA formatted, i.e. typed, double spaced, 12 points, Times New Roman font with a proper heading. And that's due, like I said, by 11:59 on the 15th of January. And that will be turned around very quickly, so you get some feedback right away on your writing and how the class is going to be graded as far as writing goes. It's kind of an introductory essay to get us gauging where you are in the class, and to see what your philosophical bases are as well. Below that, you'll see the political compass test, which, if you run out of notions of what the good is in your own life, or want to write about something else in the paper, you can go to the political compass test and take that. It'll give you a kind of base notion of where you sit as far as the political spectrum goes: authoritarian, totalitarian, anarchist, freedom, liberty, or socialist, as far as economics goes. And it's kind of an interesting little thing to look at the historical figures who are set along those compass lines too, and just to think about how your philosophy, if you have a personal philosophy you're aware of and articulate, aligns with the political ideology that the compass test gives you. And if you need something to write about and are completely stumped with knowing what the good is in your own life, then that's another way you can tackle that essay, and that'll be just fine too. So either way, it's kind of fun to take the compass test and just know kind of where you stand starting off, because the whole purpose of this class, as I said before, is to get a gauge of what philosophies are informing the way that you interact with the world? What's your personal philosophy? How do you evaluate a situation that comes before you? And how does that morally or ethically fit into the way that you live your life? Is it consistent? Is it not? If it's not, then maybe you should address that. Maybe not. But to just develop a personal metric with which to view the world and to think about these other philosophical concepts in link with that is part of the goal of this course. And to write about that from the standpoint of argumentation is the rest of it, really. All right. So the last thing I'll talk about before I go to the argument flow, because I have a separate document I have to pull up for that, is the weekly, or the assignment reading questions. So you look at here for week number 2, for example, Euthyphro reading questions number 1. So for every reading, you're responsible for coming up with 5 questions that you would ask the class if you were in charge of leading that day's discussion. So if you were hypothetically in charge of class discussion for one day, like we were actually meeting in class and had a lecture series like normal, a face-to-face classroom, what questions about the text that you just read would you ask the class to facilitate the discussion? It can be as simple or as complex as you like. You can make them the bullet points. They should be complete sentences as they are questions, but they don't have to be formatted in any kind of way. Whatever font you want, bullet point, list, whatever you want to do for the questions is just fine. 5 of them per reading assignment. And then what we're going to be doing with these is as they get turned in, we're going to post them, or I'm going to post them to the discussion board, a different discussion board I'm starting up. And because there's no classroom discussion on the questions, we can't answer each other's questions in live, we're going to have the requirement that for every reading questions that you turn in, you post them to the discussion board for reading questions, and that you go and find somebody else's who have not yet been answered and answer those discussion questions on the discussion board, or the reading questions on the discussion board, rather. So for every reading assignment, you're going to be turning in 5 questions and then answering 5 of somebody else's questions on the discussion board, which means, I would like to, and I will be monitoring all the questions and answers that are put on the discussion board, so do not try to sandbag it and be like, oh, well, who's Euthyphro, or what Socrates, how old is Socrates? Does Socrates a dude, or like something that's just an easy question that gets off and gets your classmates skate on that, because this is about actually engaging with the text and coming up with understanding of the material. And so the better questions you ask, the more in-depth and more precise the questions, the more your classmates will have a chance to grow from it, the more we'll all learn as a part of it. And you'll find that the far easier the papers and assignments will be to write through the rest of the class. So that's what the reading these questions are, and same thing with the argument flows. There'll be a link to a video or an audio file every week that you look at and then write the argument track down. I'll get into in a different video where I have to upload a different document for this, what an argument flow looks like and how to go about completing that assignment. Other than that, I think we're squared away for the first week, and have described essentially everything that happened in class for the clean classroom sessions, so we're on the same page with them now. Although the last thing I will talk about, is books. So under the content and the syllabus, you can see here, we're going there now. Come on, internet, do your thing. The syllabus now has been modified, as I said before, to be the online syllabus and not the shell from the other class, and again, I apologize about that. But the books are the same as in the syllabus. We will need, what the hell? It's all kinds of fun. Go back. Not what I wanted. Oh, there's the obviously the external resource for the video. That's the introduction video. This video will be posted right underneath that very soon. Here's the syllabus. As soon as it loads, because technology is great. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Notes from the Underground, Dostoevsky, paperback, get it. Virtue of Selfishness by Ayn Rand, essential book to the course, get it. Trial and Death of Socrates. There's the PDF of the book online under the first week. It's not as good as the translation. You'll have some differences with the noting of line numbers and footnotes, and there's no introduction or forward or translator's note. So it'll give you more trouble. I recommend buying the paperback because it's bloody 99 cents. You can also get it on Kindle for $1. So, I mean, please pick it up on Kindle and have the actual text in front of you to be helpful. The Law by Frederick Bastiat. Essentially, you get that book. I don't think there's a PDF available or a Kindle version of it. So get the paperback. It's worth having. It's worth having on your bookshelves anyway. It's a great book. The Locke, Rousseau, and Hobbes will be all on PDFs for free. And the Dewey, you can get the Kindle edition of it. It's fine, or I can find the PDF of it and upload it when we get to that point in the semester. Also, there's a copy of the Federalist Papers. It's not on this list. It's not required because it's all online for free. But if you want a copy of the Federalist Papers or can acquire one, that would be helpful as well. It's always great to have that along, and we'll be using it throughout the semester. So that said, I think everything else in the syllabus is pretty on point. Now, Let me look at the class schedule. Like I said, I took the dates off it, so since there's no in-class meetings, it's by week, right? So it opens Sunday. Each week opens Sunday at midnight, so Sunday morning, and closes Friday night at 11:59. So the Saturday, there's nothing going on Saturdays because there's time to reset media grade papers or whatever and get stuff back to you guys before the next week. So again, since this week's been kind of screwed up, everything for the first week is not actually going to be due until the end of Monday, the 15th. And so, yeah, I think that's all I have for you now. I will chime back in a second here with the video on argument flows and how to do that. All right.